time to join us this early in the morning. Coming down, the day was so overcast. It actually looked like, it was about 3 or 4 a.m. Didn't look at all like it was close to 6 a.m. So I think we're likely to see some rain today. That's my prediction.
I
Didn't
saw,
check
I
the weather
saw, I s-
forecast. But did you see how overcast it was?
yeah, it was
The sky was
overcast,
quite
and
dark.
you could barely see the moon.
Yeah.
It was hid behind the clouds.
Yeah.
But we are rising up and we're shining this morning because our light has come. Ay, ay, ay. Who do they use that
Sometimes
thing? Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, sometimes, I love it when the atmosphere is responding to some things that are happening in the natural realm. And I think this morning the atmosphere is responding. There are two things that are really heavy on my mind. I want to mention them early because I want you to walk this journey with me. When I came into the studio, I said, my body is here, but my spirit is elsewhere. Pastor Percy said the two are never apart. I beg to differ. Spirit is coming back though because it has to be here. It has to be here
They're
for the
never apart.
conversation with you. Two things heavy on my mind. Our commissioner of police has said young men are an endangered species. So now we're kind of waking up to the reality of things. I met a young man yesterday, beautiful young man, broke my heart, really broke my heart. His sadness broke my heart. And in the 15 or I don't think I was with him for 5 minutes, really, because I'll tell you the story later in the show. But the things he poured out to me in those first 10 seconds of meeting him just broke my heart. We are failing our young people in this country. We're failing them in some terrible, 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 terrible ways. Anyway, so to see that headline and to know what was in my spirit this morning, I don't know if he's listening. The producer should have sent him a link because if I ever dedicate a show, I'm dedicating this show to Mark. Not calling your surname, but you know who you are. We met yesterday. One letter separated my name from the name of the person you were calling out. He was saying Vinette, and I really thought he was saying Minette.
It was.
I was kind of looking around like,
Well,
okay,
who is he
is that me?
talking? Yes, it is you.
Anyway, met this young man. He said some things, and he represents everything that is best and failing about Jamaica. Everything that is best about us and everything that is not working
That
for us
that
right now.
and well,
One individual. And
I can
then,
imagine that. I can imagine
yeah,
that.
we'll
Yeah.
talk about it a little bit. I mean, not breaching any confidences, but the issues that afflict him, that
Are
are of
real.
concern to him, are real. They're present and they're on the front page this morning. The other thing that I believe the atmosphere is responding to, but as Pastor said, we're shining. That vaccine ruling from the Supreme Court, I saw shades of it coming from the time the constitutional claims were excised and
There was a
the
ruling yesterday.
reasoning that was given yesterday. It was in the news that the Supreme Court had denied the injunction which was being sought by the employees. And from what little I heard, one of the reasons was that the employees could not indemnify the employer in damages in the event that an injunction proved to have been wrongly given. This is to say, the employees now, when they go to court for injunctive relief, need to be serious about their ability to compensate the employer. The owner of capital is looking to the worker for compensation in damages. There's a principle in our law which requires someone asking for an injunction to give an undertaking in damages, to say that if I could take this injunction and at the end of the day I lose the case, but the employer lost money while honoring the injunction, I should be in a position to compensate him for that loss.
So who were the just one person sat in the constitutional court or just one?
Well, listen, I don't do that level of detail. It's not even relevant
Just the
to the
principle.
discussion
I'm just
right now.
wondering what the
But
ruling
the
was.
the case, if in the same case, in the Caramed case, it was one judge because it hadn't made it to a constitutional court. The constitutional claims were taken out. But for us to be back at that place in our jurisprudence, in the development of our law, where an employee cannot take their employer to court unless they're in a position to offer an indemnity in damages when an injunction is being sought. We left that place from slavery.
Okay.
We left that place. It is inconceivable that one individual who gets maybe less than $100,000 a month could be put in that position of being told that your claim cannot be adjudicated on because you're not rich enough to give that man any money that he may lose when he honors a claim, an injunction for your benefit. That to me is just, what can I say? Good morning. We're going to talk through these issues because we have to move ourselves from that place of enslavement. It's time for the first break. Let's take our first break and we'll be right back. This is the Morning Connection.
We'll be right back.
For a better choice in all your electrical supplies, A, authorized 3M dealer and better brand names. B, better service including free island-wide delivery. C, all major credit and debit cards accepted. It's ABC Electrical Sales. Shop number 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We make your electrical jobs as easy as ABC. Call 754-382-528 or fax 754-3659. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice.
The station that makes you feel good.
I love the station. I think it's great.
My station.
Moving.
My station.
Moving. Keep it right here. Keep it right here.
Best FM. Keep listening.
We're committed to reducing the impact of disasters occurring in Jamaica. We're ever ready to assist you before, during, and after a disaster. But everybody have a role to play, so make we work together and follow the plan. Whether rich or poor or where you come from, hurricanes affect everyone, so be prepared. Prevention is better than cure. Be prepared. Listen to ADPEM.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Live the life. Respect the music. And keep your radio locked in. The best 100 FM.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
Close a long day on a Tuesday afternoon with a great company. While you're heading home, stuck in traffic, or on your way to work. Yes! When life throws you Tuesday, turn up and let it be a True's day. And True's on the air with Tashika Lu, your one-stop, entertaining, inspiring late afternoon show with friendly conversations, song requests, positive affirmation, learn something to improve your health, and submission box when you, my listeners, share your relationship problems.
Hold on. What you just said? You're engaged this man for 5 years and I know him can't marry you? Is that prank? No, I do this.
Tuesdays from 5 to 7 p.m. right here on Best 100 FM, the station that is heard everywhere.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats. Best FM.
As good morning, welcome back. As I had said to my friend, my beloved friend, Minette, your spirit never leaves your soul. It's just some of the time they're going in opposite directions. But what happens is that they need to be in unity. Spirit, soul, and body needs to be in unity. That's what I'm saying. It might not be walking along with where you're feeling in the body, but it is there. But arise, shine, for the light has come, and the glory of God is risen. In Psalms 82:3 it says, give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. And Isaiah 1:17 says, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and please the widow's cause. You've heard me saying this all the time on this program. And as a country that calls itself a Christian country, and it is interesting in terms of as we are proceeding along what has happened, there are real justice issues that are going awry, what we're seeing in Jamaica. But you see, I remind the princes of this land, be very careful, be very careful, be very careful, be very careful, be very careful in terms of the things that you are doing, all in sight of the almighty dollar. Because what has so been exposed to all of us during COVID is the fact that the things we have chased after and said those are the things that make my life worthwhile have come up empty. And it's so important as we remember as Psalms 89:14 says, his throne is built upon justice and righteousness, and mercy and truth go before him. God is not deaf, God is not blind, and I remind us so to be careful. We've been talking about the whole vaccination and what it means and informed consent and what is happening around the world. There was a big protest in London, I think yesterday, about the mandatory vaccination and what it means, and even in terms of the past that people are talking about. And what is happening is that, if we recall, in terms of this issue, it was you take the vaccine, you go back to life. Now, they're saying to us, you're going to have to be boosting for life, because every variant that comes up, you have to get a booster for it. And it's around the world in terms of deaths, in terms of adverse reactions to these vaccines. If people think when we speak right out of the blocks, the British Medical Journal had raised questions, and you can just Google the article in terms of how the tests that were done, and they were raising serious concerns in how it was performances. Something is not right, and whistleblowers have come out and spoken about it. I'm just saying to people, let us be very, very careful. I believe truth will always triumph, and good will triumph over evil. And so I just remind us, this thing of justice. Again, I go afflicted and the destitute. Psalms 82 and verse 3. Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and please the widow's cause. And when we go over into James, it says, what is all righteous true Christianity about? He who heeds the widows and the fatherless and make sure that they are well taken care of. So just those are my words of caution and the call that goes out. If we continue in this trend that we are saying, what people are saying and human rights is not happening, we are entering into a serious phase, not only in Jamaica, but in terms of world history. Those are just my comments. We've spoken about justice, and it's becoming. But on the other side, I'm declaring, arise, shine, for the light has come. The light is shining, and it is revealing people's hearts. And when the searchlight of God goes out and begin to reveal, woe, woe, woe unto all of us. Yeah.
You call down woe on us?
Woe, woe, woe unto all of us when the light comes. You want the light to rise, shine, for the light is come.
Brown, good morning. So just making a special mention of the persons who are giving us a shout out online. Thank you for joining us. We always, you're sort of, you're on a journey, and you know that while the main track is laid and you understand what it is you are meant to do, we know that we're not moving we know that it's a dynamic field. Things are happening all around us, and sometimes we have to move from one issue to the other before we're quite ready. And this has been the path with this show, as you and I have kind of laid out the foundation for how we wanted to approach these discussions. And we've been trying to do it, what do you say now, line upon line? We're trying to build it in a very progressive systematic way. But of course, things are happening in the society that cause us to have to break rank occasionally and touch some things more than once. Go back to
it,
them.
yeah.
And Pastor, yesterday, Percy said to me, let's go back over our notes for the previous shows and see what are some of the issues that we need to recap and just, do a kind of a review, half year in review, sort of.
Yeah, but that's where it's at. But it is instructive because we do believe it's not a 9-day wonder. Because a lot of the pause that be, oh man, it soon come out of the public domain. So let us wait. But let me tell you something. If people are on the ground and think that public relations is going to deal with how people are feeling in this nation, it's not going to work. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can fool a man once, twice, but he's waking up to the reality. No, sir.
All right. So here are some of the things that I'm thinking of when I make that comment. Earlier o'clock, we spoke about, I spoke about the futility of taking issues to court in an atmosphere where government and the public are at odds, and it is clear the direction in which government wants to go. And many times what you get out of the court is just a reinforcement or a corruption of the judiciary, because I do not believe in all cases it stems from a corrupt activity. But many times what you see is that the judiciary, which is drawn primarily from the same pool of prosecutors, government workers, very few judges come out of the private bar. Most of and so for me, the attitude, we see it all the times. We take professionals out of established banks or various places, and we put them in regulatory offices, and they continue to do what they've always done, which is to protect the thing they know and believe to be of value. And most times they move in a way that excludes newcomers. I've seen it in how our jurisprudence develops. I've experienced it as a litigant in court, where the government is running one line, and every judge I go to, despite initially appearing to understand the case, they then end up at the same place where they're saying exactly what the government is saying. With this vaccination thing, COVID pandemic issue, I saw early o'clock that the very easiest, the most likely thing to happen is that if parties proceeded to court before they had exhausted to make an informed consent to some of these things, my concern was that the judiciary would most likely defer it, meaning they would exercise their power to say someone else there, you can get relief somewhere else. They would not want to hear it. And second, if it's unavoidable for them to hear it, as in the case where the parties here were seeking an injunction, and an injunction has to be argued in court, they would choose a course that the way our laws are set, you could not bring a charge, a claim against the government in court without first, unheard of. So you had to get permission from a judge, had to look at your case and determine whether or not it could rise to the next level. No, you don't have permission for this thing to be inquired into. Even in England, they have changed that now, because it used to be so in England. It can be heard substantively at the first level without your having to seek permission. In Jamaica, we're still seeking permission if we want to challenge something that is done by a government official. That's something that needs to disappear and should have disappeared a long time ago. The second other protection for the Crown, and it has continued to the point where in their tracks, you need to be in a position to compensate them in damages in the event that you lose the case at the end of the day. Now, that in and of itself is not such a terrible thing where persons are, you know, are likely to suffer irreparable or huge financial losses when they're stopped in their tracks. You use that principle between an employer who is an owner of capital and an employee who's only because you will never have a situation in which any one employee can compensate an employer for loss. You will not. I'm hoping
It's
that
like a revolving door.
I'm hoping that what it means now is it will workers will see that
Again, I want to extend that even wider. We must come to the point that we are saying, and we've been saying it. If we do not pull together as the joint,
on the good side now, the fundamental right that got a boost. Justice Natalie Hart Hines ruled in favor of residents who complained about a development in which the developer built 32 rooms,
When it was
32 bedrooms when the approval was for
apartment.
12.
Yeah. And even the room, she says, but how can you put,
This is on Roseberry Drive in Acadia, St. Andrew.
yeah, where she says, but even to have granted permission for a multifamily dwelling with 12, that even was too much already because it was on half acre of land. But I know the place. I've seen it past every day. So I went the thing and I'm saying, ooh, what's happening here?
Yeah, residents objected, arguing that the development would impact their privacy, peace, and security. The judge ruled in the residents' favor on Monday. Need to do. The judge visited the site, so she was able to look at the construction, and she raised questions about
NEPA.
municipal council and NEPA. Both received unfavorable comments.
Headline is in terms of our individual rights and freedom. We gotta be careful. I don't know how else to say it, except as one of my callers said, "May I come off this program because if I go and continue, I'm going to become so angry and upset with it." So he said, "No, but you know what? Let me come off this program." But we gotta be careful. It's time.
These are landowners whose right to privacy and peace and security are being protected by the court, and at the same time, you have employees who are seeking to protect their health and their options, and they can get no comfort from the court because, amongst other things, they cannot show an ability to compensate their employer. So if the employer like the one is a pregnant lady who, for medical reasons, ought not to be vaccinated, if she's forced to be vaccinated in order to keep working, so she now has to choose between two rights. She has to consider her health, and she has to consider her livelihood. So she's gamble with her health or gamble with her livelihood. I mean, I would choose my health over anything. I mean, there are days when you just need to make a choice to walk away, and then fight on another front. I pray that too many of us won't have to face that, because I can tell you it's a difficult choice. But when you have to make it, just understand that your Father who provides for you will cover you in those days.
He's coming to fight on your behalf.
Yeah. All right. Earl Brown says there is a statue of a leopard with eagle's wings erected at the UN in New York. A leopard with eagle's wings. That sounds like it's coming either out of the book of Daniel or
out of
Revelation.
Revelations.
People are saying it is the end times. And he sent me a photo on Messenger. What are your thoughts? Pastor, what are your thoughts on the statue? Find a look at it. But here's about prophecy and what it means when the Bible says, I am Alpha and Omega. I am Alpha.
Beginning and end.
And Omega. And you ever present one. We, any way that the human mind could depict that graphically, it would say that he exists as an orb all at once. Therefore, when in Revelation, John the Revelator is given a vision of things to come for man, because most part of our existence, time is linear, year after year after year after year until we pass away. So John the Revelator was shown something at a different time, which for man would mean in the future.
That's correct.
But which for God had already happened, is happening. Let us not be will happen and are happening. Now, it's difficult for us to contend with that idea of things, because for us, that's why we talk about end times, because, and it's a phrase to try and say that it is to come. But understand that while it is to come, it also already happened.
Yeah, because
presents if we can. But right now we're gonna take our 7 o'clock break.
A typical Jamaican Christmas dinner usually involves ham, baked chicken, beef, chicken foot soup, and so on. Vegan Joe.
Or anything that had or has a face.
With that in mind, let's start to compile our menu for Christmas dinner. We begin with soup.
Lentils make a good soup. Split peas make a good soup. Well, red peas, as you know, go at Christmas time. So all that would be quote unquote missing from your soup would be the meat. That's all. But you don't even miss it, because once you have your seasonings in there and you have your coconut milk, you know, pimento, and of course your little scotch bonnet and garlic. There are a lot of stews that you can make. There's sweet and sour jackfruit stew. There's also an eggplant vegetable stew. You can make, I've done a breadfruit that, and then put a layer of lentil stew and then put another layer of the breadfruit on top. So, I mean, it can be done with Irish potatoes as well, or sweet potatoes.
If you're looking for meat substitutes, here are a few options. Also, keep in mind that you can transform beans and legumes into burgers.
People use mushrooms, for example. But I look like beef balls, but it's actually meat.
Side dish options for you to add to the menu.
You know, people have this thing called polenta, which we in Jamaica remember having a recipe. It was like a loaf